If you're over 60, this video might be the most important thing you watch all year. Because there's a super common stroke warning sign that most older adults think is harmless, and by the time they realize the truth, it's already too late. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I've seen too many people pay a heavy price just for ignoring a tiny sign, a sign that, if caught early, could have saved their memory, their speech, and even their independence. I still clearly remember one Monday morning when Mr. Walter, 67 years old, walked into my clinic. He was holding a half-finished cup of coffee, but what caught my attention was his smile. It was completely crooked to one side. "I thought I just slept in a weird position, Doc," he said, his voice sounding a little off, like his tongue wasn't quite cooperating. But I knew this wasn't a neck or shoulder problem. This was the brain's first warning, a signal that, if ignored, could have lifelong consequences. The truth is, strokes don't always come out of nowhere like we think. They don't always start with paralysis or unconsciousness. Sometimes they begin with tiny signs, a little unsteadiness, a strange headache, or words that sound a bit off. Those signs are like the brain whispering to you, warning that something's wrong. What breaks my heart is how many older patients have sat right in front of me after it was already too late and said, "I wish I'd known sooner." They weren't careless. They just weren't taught how to recognize the signs. We all know to call 911 if there's chest pain. But what about when your mouth suddenly droops or your vision blurs? Too many people brush it off as just tiredness or old age. That's exactly why I made this video. I don't want you or anyone you love to go through heartbreaking losses just because of missing information. In this video, I'll walk you through the 8 earliest stroke signs, from the easiest to miss to the most dangerous. Maybe you'll recognize some things that have happened to you before, and that's when we need to act. Because sometimes, just catching one sign early can save your memory, your speech, or even your life. Don't leave the video yet, because the first sign might come when you least expect it. And if you catch it in time, you can change the rest of your life. There's a feeling that many older adults tend to brush off: sudden dizziness, like the floor is shifting beneath you, or your legs just won't obey. Mr. Robert, a 72-year-old patient of mine, described it as feeling like I'm on a boat, even though I'm standing right in my living room. He thought it might be from dehydration, standing up too fast, or just getting old. But the truth is very different. It's not just tiredness. It's a warning signal from your brain crying out for help. When you suddenly feel off balance, shaky, or have to grab onto something just to stay upright, it could mean the cerebellum. The part of your brain that controls balance isn't getting enough oxygen because a blood vessel is blocked or burst. What's dangerous is this dizziness doesn't go away when you lie down, and it's not like the lightheadedness from low blood pressure. It lingers, making walking difficult, sometimes accompanied by nausea, headache, or even blurry vision. Lots of people think resting will fix it, but in this case, every minute counts. Your brain could be suffering permanent damage. Stroke signs aren't always loud and obvious. Sometimes they whisper, but if you listen carefully, you'll hear them loud and clear. If you or someone you love has experienced sudden, unexplained loss of balance, don't wait to see if it goes away. Take it as a warning. Your body never makes things up. And with stroke, acting fast not only saves lives, but also preserves your independence, memory, and speech. Sudden dizziness isn't just an inner ear or weather problem. Sometimes it's the first knock of a stroke, and you can't ignore it. Blurred or double vision. Mrs. Louise, 69, told me that one morning she woke up, and everything in front of her looked like it was covered in fog. Her left eye saw clearly, but her right eye seemed like someone had gently erased all the details. She thought, maybe my eyes are tired, or I forgot my glasses. So, she went on with her day making tea, feeding her cat, reading the news until her vision returned to normal. She didn't call anyone or see a doctor. This happened 3 times. The 4th time, it wasn't so simple anymore. Many older adults think that if blurry vision comes and goes, it's probably nothing serious. But what they don't realize is when you suddenly see blurriness, double images, or dark spots, especially in just one eye, it could mean your brain isn't processing visual information properly. Your eyes are still working, but the part of your brain that interprets those images isn't. And this can happen because blood isn't reaching that area, either from a blocked or bursting blood vessel. What makes this symptom dangerous is that it often comes and goes quickly, making you think it's over. But even if you feel fine, your brain might have just had a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke, and that's a warning that a bigger stroke may be coming. I always remind my patients, if your vision changes suddenly, within seconds or minutes, not gradually over months or years, it's not just aging. It's an alarm bell. And sometimes, acting right in that moment can save your ability to see, read, or simply recognize the faces of your loved ones. One more time. So, if one morning you wake up to blurry vision, even for just a few minutes, don't ignore it. Get checked by a doctor. Because in those seemingly small moments, your brain could be quietly sending out a distress signal. Something really strange happened to Mr. Gerald, a 74-year-old patient of mine. One day, while he was on the phone talking to his daughter, suddenly he couldn't form a sentence. The words were there in his mind. He knew what he wanted to say, but his mouth just stuttered out strange sounds. His daughter thought the phone line was bad. He tried to repeat himself, but everything got stuck, like there was an invisible wall between his thoughts and his speech. When he came to see me, he said, "At that moment, I didn't understand what was happening. I was fully awake. I knew who I was, but I just couldn't talk." This wasn't confusion. It wasn't temporary forgetfulness. It was aphasia, when the language area of the brain suddenly gets interrupted because of a lack of blood flow. And this is one of the earliest signs of a stroke. Many people mistake this for stress, tiredness, or just aging. They notice they have trouble expressing themselves, answer slowly, or forget a few words and think resting will fix it. But if this happens suddenly, without warning, especially when you're completely alert, it's not just fatigue. It means your brain is suffering from blocked blood vessels, and you need help immediately. What makes aphasia so scary is that patients are often aware they're stuck, and that feeling unable to express or connect with words can cause panic or make them reluctant to speak out. But silence at this moment can be harmful. The longer you wait, the lower the chances of language recovery. On the other hand, if you act quickly, the brain can recover, and your voice literally can be saved. So if one day you're talking and suddenly can't say the sentence you want, or you understand what others are saying but can't respond clearly, take it as a red flag. Don't stay silent and wait, because that might be the moment your brain is quietly whispering. Mr. Frank, 71, was about to pour himself a glass of water when his right arm suddenly felt like it lost all strength. The glass slipped and shattered on the floor. He stood there, staring at his arm as if it wasn't part of his body anymore. "I thought maybe I slept wrong last night, and the blood wasn't flowing," he said. So he tried stretching, rolling his shoulders, and walking a bit. 10 minutes later, the feeling came back. He breathed a sigh of relief. But what he didn't know was that during those 10 minutes, his brain had just experienced a transient ischemic attack, also called a mini-stroke. We often think numbness or weakness in the limbs is just from sitting too long, bad posture, or lack of movement. But if it happens suddenly, especially only on one side, the right arm, right leg, or half the body, it's not just a mechanical issue. It's a neurological problem. The brain controls movement in a crossed way. If one side of the brain is damaged, the opposite side of the body is affected. When the blood vessel feeding the movement center is blocked, signals from the brain can't reach the arm or leg. And suddenly, part of your body feels like it's disappeared. There's a simple test I always recommend. Raise both arms to shoulder height and close your eyes. If one arm drops or you can't hold it up for a few seconds, call emergency services. Immediately. Don't wait to see if it gets better. Because with a stroke, every minute counts millions of brain cells, maybe dying for good. The problem is, when feeling returns, like in Mr. Frank's case, many people get complacent. They think, it's fine now. But in reality, a small stroke today could be a warning for a much bigger one tomorrow. And then it won't be about my arm moving again anymore. If you ever feel your limbs suddenly heavy, uncoordinated, or numb on one side, don't brush it off. It's an urgent warning straight from your brain. And if you listen quickly, you might save your ability to walk, work, or even share one more hug with the people you love most. Mrs. Elaine, 68, told me that one day she was chatting with her best friend on the phone, when suddenly, her words no longer sounded like her own. The simple sentence, "I'm making tea," came out as twi, da, pa, za. Each sound weird and distorted. Her friend on the other end quickly asked, "Elaine, what's wrong? Have you been drinking?" She laughed it off, saying she might be tired, but inside, she started feeling uneasy. We often think a stroke means losing consciousness or paralysis on one side, but actually, language is one of the clearest mirrors of what's happening in the brain. When a blood vessel is blocked in the area that controls the muscles for speech, mouth, tongue, vocal cords, you might still think clearly, but your speech becomes tangled, slow, and slurred. It feels like your mouth isn't cooperating, your tongue stiffens, and words get stuck on their way out. Many people, especially older adults, ignore this sign. They assume they're just tired, dehydrated, or have a hoarse voice from weather changes. But if you're alert, fully aware of what you want to say, and suddenly your speech slows, jumbles, or sounds off that's not normal, it's an urgent cry for help from your brain. A simple way to check is to say any sentence out loud, for example, your full name. If you notice unusual pronunciation or can't say the whole sentence, clearly don't wait another minute. Call emergency services, because in the world of stroke, even a few minutes delay can be the difference between recovery and permanently losing your ability to speak. I've met patients who spent their lives teaching, storytelling, singing, and just because they waited 15 minutes too long when this symptom appeared, they lost the ability to speak clearly forever. Don't let that happen to you. Language is the bridge connecting us to the world. If one day that bridge starts shaking, listen closely. Don't stay silent. Act immediately to save your voice. Mr. Daniel, 73, shared that one morning he got up from his chair and took a few steps as usual. Then suddenly froze. "I didn't trip or slip," he said, "but my right leg felt stuck to the floor." He tried to keep walking, but it felt like his leg and brain were out of sync. His body started leaning slightly to one side. His wife thought maybe he was just sleep-deprived or having a cramp. He just chuckled, "Maybe my old leg forgot how to walk." Sadly, that feeling, what Mr. Daniel called his leg forgetting how to walk, is far from harmless. It's one of the early and dangerous signs of a stroke quietly starting. When blood flow to the part of the brain controlling movement and balance is interrupted, the body no longer moves smoothly as usual. Things get weird. A shaky step, a light bump into the wall, or just the feeling of losing control, like you're no longer the one guiding your own feet. What's scary is how easily this symptom is blamed on aging. Who hasn't stumbled at home before, right? But if yesterday you walked just fine, and today suddenly you're grabbing the table and feeling your way step by step, that's not just getting old. It's your brain sending out a warning that shouldn't be ignored. I've seen many patients come in too late because they thought they were just a bit tired. But strokes don't wait. They silently attack your agility, then quickly spread to your memory, speech, and independence. If you notice yourself suddenly walking slower, dragging your feet, or stumbling without clear reason, treat it as an emergency, especially if it's accompanied by dizziness, slurred speech, or facial drooping. Act immediately. Your legs are the pillars of your freedom. If they start wobbling like you've never felt before, don't blame it on old age. It might be your brain knocking on the door, and you need to open the emergency door before it's too late. Mr. Lewis, 70, hadn't experienced headaches for many years until one afternoon, while watching the news, a pain like a hammer blow struck him out of nowhere. He described it as a crushing hit to the head, fast, intense, and so sudden he couldn't even stand up. The pain spread from his neck to his temples, then wrapped around his head like a tight band. Minutes later, he started vomiting. His wife thought he might have a cold and told him to rest and drink some warm water. But this time, the pain was no minor issue. It was a silent attack inside his brain. Not all headaches are dangerous, but if you rarely get headaches and suddenly experience a severe, unusual pain, unlike anything before, that's a red flag. This headache could be a sign of a hemorrhagic stroke when a blood vessel in the brain bursts, causing bleeding and rapidly increasing pressure inside the skull. Many mistake this for migraine, stress, insomnia, or weather changes. They take painkillers, close the curtains, try to sleep, and lose precious golden hours for treatment. But the biggest difference is the speed and intensity. The pain hits suddenly, violently, like thunder crashing inside your head, often accompanied by nausea, blurred vision, stiff neck, or confusion. In Mr. Lewis's case, luckily a neighbor arrived in time and called emergency services. That's why he can still talk with me today. But not everyone is that fortunate. If you or someone you love suddenly feel a severe headache, unlike any you've had before, don't lie down. Don't wait. Don't self-medicate. Because with hemorrhagic stroke, every minute counts. Millions of brain cells can be damaged further. And by the time you realize it, it might be too late to return to how things were. That pain isn't random. It's the brain's roar when it's seriously injured. Listen closely and act immediately. Because sometimes a headache isn't just pain, it's a matter of life and death. Mrs. Ruth, 75, was looking in the mirror one morning when she noticed something was off. When she smiled, it wasn't the usual even smile. One side of her mouth lifted as normal, but the other side stayed still, drooping downward. Her left eyelid also drooped slightly, and her cheek looked frozen. She didn't feel pain or dizziness. It was just... Her smile wasn't whole anymore. She thought maybe she had just woken up with some facial stiffness, but the feeling didn't go away, even after drinking water, washing her face, and taking deep breaths. So she called her daughter, and that call saved her. Among all stroke signs, face drooping and uneven smile are the clearest, easiest to spot, and most urgent. When part of your face suddenly won't move, a crooked smile, a drooping eyelid, or sagging cheek, it's not aging. It's your brain suffering serious damage in the area controlling facial muscles. A simple check I always teach patients is the FAST test. F, face, smile, and see if it's even. A, arms, raise both arms, and see if one drifts down. S, speech. Say a simple sentence and check if the speech is slurred. T, time. If any sign is abnormal, time is critical. Don't lie down and wait. Don't think it will go away soon. The danger is many older adults, when they see slight facial drooping, think they're just tired or mildly paralyzed from blood pressure. They delay. They hesitate to bother family. And by the time they call emergency services, their body no longer responds well to treatment. Your face, your smile, they all reflect your brain's condition. When your face starts changing uncontrollably, it's not just a change in appearance. It's a deep change inside your central nervous system. If you look in the mirror and notice your smile isn't like before, act immediately, because that smile or its distortion might be the last chance to save your speech, memory, and clarity in the years to come. I know that what we've just gone through might make you feel a bit worried. Maybe you're thinking about that time you felt dizzy, or the day your mouth moved strangely, or a moment when your hand trembled while holding the phone. And you wonder, could that have been a sign? If you're feeling that way, that's good. It means you're listening to your body. And that's the most important thing. A stroke doesn't always hit like a sudden storm. Sometimes it comes like a quiet rain, starting with blurry vision, a slightly off step, or a word that doesn't sound quite right. But those small moments are the most precious, because the earlier you spot them, the better your chances of recovery. On the flip side, ignoring them for just a few hours can cost you your speech, memory, or independence. I've met too many patients who came in late, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't recognize the signs, and that's why I made this video. Not to scare you, but to help you stay alert to the very real signals your brain sends every day. If you think you've experienced any of the signs we talked about, or want to monitor your health more proactively, I want to introduce you to a simple but helpful tool. A health tracking app designed especially for older adults where you can log symptoms like trouble speaking, dizziness, or weakness, so nothing gets overlooked. Not because you don't remember, but because some things are too important to leave to memory alone. Finally, here's what I want you to remember. You know your body better than anyone else. If something feels wrong, trust that instinct and don't hesitate to see a doctor. Acting early might not only save your life, but also preserve what matters most: your voice, your memories, and your genuine smile. Take care of your health. Please share this video if you find it helpful. And most importantly, always listen when your body speaks.